Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Rhonda, coming to you. We're having a little pajama party. I was just kind of doing some catch-up reading because I have promised myself that I am going to finish Matthew this week, and I am on chapter 15 going into 16. So I want to be done and hit 24 by the end of the night. So that's where we're at. But I had to stop and do a video because it's been like a hot minute since I've been on here. And I just kind of feel like I've had all these thoughts go through my head all week long, and I wanted to jump on here and I just have not had the time. So anyway, if you are new here to my channel, my name is Rhonda and I am happy that you're here. And if you are a subscriber and a supporter, I am so excited that you've decided to come back and hear another little Bible story because I have something that I just want to share. I'm going to try to make this short and sweet so that I can kind of hit my goal of getting to at least to chapter 24 by tonight. I mean, I've already read it. It's just I'm going through the commentary and now I'm just kind of picking up some highlights and making sure there's nothing that I haven't missed when I'm rereading it. So anyway, y'all, so this is what I just read and highlighted and reread it in my ESV study Bible. So if you're not familiar, I'm in Matthew 15, verse 21. And it's talking about the faith of a Canaanite woman. I have read this before. I'm sure many of you have read this before, but I'm going to go back and read what I caught this time that I actually didn't catch the previous time. Because, you know, every time you hear the story or the parable by another person reading it to you, they may give you a little nugget and you go, oh, okay, I remember that. But then you read it and you apply that little nugget. Now all of a sudden it makes a little bit more sense. And so you're like, wow, okay, so now I'm a little deeper on it. So this just took me another layer deeper, and that's what I want to share with you. So I'm going to just read it. It's real quick. It's only a few little verses, just in case you haven't read it or you're not familiar or you just need a little refresher. So this is Matthew 15, verse 21, the faith of the Canaanite woman. And Jesus went away from there and withdrew to the district of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a Canaanite woman from that region came out and was crying, "Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely oppressed by a demon." But he did not answer her at all. And his disciple came and begged him, saying, "Send her away, for she is crying out after us." He answered, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." But she came and knelt before him, saying, "Lord, help me." And he answered, "Is it not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs?" She said, "Yes, Lord, yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." Then Jesus answered her, "O woman, great is your faith. Be it done for you as you desire." And her daughter was healed instantly. Now, the first times I've read that through, of course, everybody says, "Oh, well, why is he calling that woman a dog?" And so, of course, us women go, "What? Why is he calling her a dog? What does he mean by that?" But let's get into a little bit of the backstory of why all this makes sense in the context that it is actually supposed to be understood. So I'm going to go to my commentary first and just read what I've got underlined, because I almost underlined the entire bit of the commentary because I was like, okay, so I didn't catch that. Okay, I didn't catch that either. So now everything's made a little bit more sense to me. So in my commentary, it just kind of gives you a little up story on how Jesus withdrew to the region of Tyre and Sidon, and that's on the Mediterranean coast. And as far as we know, this was the only time during his public ministry that he was outside of Jewish territory. I didn't know that. And so oh my gosh, how am I going to say this word? Phoenicia, a Canaanite woman asked him to heal her daughter who was demon-possessed. It is important to realize that this woman was not a Jew, but a Gentile. She was descended from the Canaanites, which was an immoral race which God had marked for extinction. I never knew that. I am in Joshua now in my daily reading, and they are crossed over the Jordan and they are taking over the land of Canaan. And it just never connected that God told them, this is the land that I've promised you. I'm going to take you into Canaan, and you're going to destroy it all, and I'm going to give it to you, and you're going to divvy it up between the 12 tribes of Israel. But it never occurred to me that these people had been marked for extinction. So let that sink in for a minute. And though through Israel's disobedience, some had survived the invasion of Canaan under Joshua, and this woman was a descendant of the survivors. And that's true because there was a couple of times that they went in to destroy certain clans that were already there, and they didn't kill everybody. They either took them as like plunder, so to speak, and then they took them as wives or, daughters or whatever. And so, of course, God knew this, and he allowed for some of this to happen, but those people were cursed. There were blessings that were given, and then there were curses that were given. So all this would fall under the curse from way back in the day. So through Israel's disobedience, some had survived the invasion of Canaan under Joshua. And so this woman would have been a descendant of the survivors. As a Gentile, she did not enjoy the privileges of God's chosen earthly people. She was an alien, having no hope. Positionally, she had no claim on God or the Messiah. So speaking to Jesus, she addressed him as Lord, the Son of David, a title which only the Jews used in speaking of the Messiah. And although Jesus was the Son of David, a Gentile had no right to approach him on that basis. This is why he did not answer her at first. So then again, I was like, I just didn't know that it was that black and white. You're a Gentile. You can't say that like that. Who gave you permission to say that to our Messiah? It's kind of one of those things where, some of the Jews were saying ugly stuff, but it's just never been to me so black and white that, I knew women were subordinate. They really had limited ability to speak out and to speak up, but I just didn't realize that it was also Jews and Gentiles. You can't say that of our Messiah. That was just kind of eye-opening to me. So his disciples came and urged him to send her away. To him, she was a welcome example of faith and a vessel in whom his grace would shine. But first, he must prove and educate her faith. So he saw all this coming. He knew where she came from. He knew to the extent of her disability, so to speak, as far as being a Canaanite. He knew all of that. He reminded her that his mission was to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, not to Gentiles, and certainly not to Canaanites. She was undismayed by this apparent refusal. Dropping the title, Son of David, she worshiped him, saying, Lord, help me. If she couldn't come to him as a Jew to her Messiah, she would come as a creature to her Creator. Look. Chills. That gave me chills. Because it just is, I don't know, I can't even explain how when I read that, it was almost like she just laid face down and recognized, I am nothing except a created creature that you created. Help me. It's just like she just flat out just surrendered everything. So to further probe the reality of her faith, Jesus told her that it was not good for him to turn aside from feeding the Jewish children in order to give bread to Gentile dogs. And if this sounds harsh to us, we should remember that like the surgeon's scalpel, it was not intended to hurt, but to heal. She was a Gentile. That's a fact. The Jews looked upon the Gentiles as scavenging dogs prowling the streets for scraps of food. However, the word that Jesus used for here, when translated, was for little pet dogs. The question was, would she acknowledge her unworthiness to receive the least of his mercies? And her reply was magnificent. She agreed with his description completely. Taking the place of an unworthy Gentile, she cast herself on his mercy, love, and grace. She said, in effect, "You're right. I am only of the little dogs under the table, but I notice the crumbs sometimes fall from the table to the floor. Won't you let me have some crumbs? I am not worthy that you should heal my daughter, but I beseech you to do it for one of your undeserving creatures." There again, turning to him and acknowledging him as their creator. Jesus commended her for her great faith, while the unbelieving children who had no hunger for the bread, which were the Jews, here was a self-confessed dog crying out for it. Faith was rewarded. Her daughter was healed instantly. The fact that our Lord healed this Gentile daughter at a distance suggests his present ministry at God's right hand, bestowing spiritual healing on Gentiles during this age when his ancient people were set aside nationally. So they had a whole nation of people who he was there to save, and yet they ignored that. And here's one lady coming saying, "Can you just please heal my daughter? You know, I agree with you. I am not worthy. I am a Gentile. I am not of your people. But can you just do me the same for my daughter?" And he did it. And I don't know. I just felt that when I was reading that. And I thought that I would share that because there were several of those aha moments that the Canaanite woman, I didn't really catch that was a Gentile, that she was a Gentile. I actually thought the first couple times I read it was just because she was a woman. But like I said, I like to learn a little bit more, and each time I read it over and over and over, I pick up something else. And then again, that they were actually, God had set them up for extinction. I just couldn't even wrap my head around that. I was just like, he said, you know what? They got to go. And this is how they're going to go. And then some of the survivors just, continued on. But before I let you go, I also just have this one last little one that I was reading through, that Jesus feeds the 4,000. Y'all, just 3 parables before that, he feeds 5,000 people. The same disciples are with Jesus. And now they've got this other crowd that has been following him for 3 days. And his disciples are like, where are we going to get enough? Oh, this is what they said. So Jesus called his disciples to him and said, "I have compassion on the crowd because they have been with me now for 3 days and have had nothing to eat. And I'm unwilling to send them away hungry, lest they faint on the way." And then the disciples are like, where are we going to get enough bread in such a desolate place to feed a great crowd? Y'all know I just saw Jesus' eyes roll back in his head, just going like, oh my gosh, did I just not feed 5,000? Here's 4,000, and you're asking me, how are we going to do this? So yeah, I just read that, and that it just jumped out at me. I'm like, but wait a minute, we just fed 5,000, and now you're questioning how he's going to feed 4? The same way, of course. So anyway, I thought I would drop that little nugget with you guys too. He says, "How many loaves do we have?" And they said 7 and a few small fish. So he's directing the crowd to sit down just like he did before. He took the 7 loaves and the fish, and having given thanks, he broke them and gave them out to the disciples to give to the crowd, just like he just did. And they still questioned, how are we going to do this? Ye of little faith. That's all I can think. But anyway, I thought that I would just drop that little nugget on you guys as I was having my own little pajama party, getting caught up. I've got like 4 more chapters I want to go through before I call it a night, because tomorrow I'm going to finish Matthew. It is my goal of the week. So anyway, I appreciate you guys jumping on. If you enjoyed that, make sure to subscribe and leave me a little comment, share it with a friend, invite a friend to join. And yeah, let's just keep this God thing going. Y'all have a great rest of your night.